The Porsche engineer's not happy about that at all, and I think understandably, because he had left Jordan Taylor some room there.
So I mean, with that flat, oh, someone else, a 23 car now. That's the Panis Barthez competition car reversing somewhere.
Again, he was fairly sensible there. He released the brake pedal and let it go.
Puncture left rear.
Yeah.
That's what that is. So he's got to be careful with all the bodywork coming back on that.
Yeah. We're going to watch what happened here with... That's one of the Delaras. Yeah, OK, the tyre let go after he'd run off track on the way through Indianapolis. So that was actually up on the curb, having run off track. So it looks like the curb cut that tyre, and immediately he had the tyre failure. Better to have it there than on the run down after there. Certainly, I'd rather lose a tyre into the slowest corner on the circuit.
So here's this Porsche that's just had that spin. That was near enough to 360s.
What he didn't do was jump on the brake pedal. You know, he let the car go round naturally, and it stopped of its own accord. So yes, to a degree, there's going to be some, the tyre's not designed to be loaded like that. But I don't think there'll be a flat spot. You know, there might be a couple of nasty little bumps along the way, but sort of thing that'll clear off within a lap or so, and he'll be okay. He's not going to be locking wheels everywhere with a 50p piece on a right front, for instance.
This is Fassler in the 64 Corvette Racing. Beautiful noise.
Absolutely, all these GTE cars making fantastic noises, and all so different, which is the fantastic thing about the class. So Fassler is chasing down Pierre Guidi. They've got a 6-second gap, which is staying pretty stable. Pilet, the man on the move in GTE Pro. We're going to see a replay here of the move. Jordan Taylor up the inside of the Porsche. He was passed. He was passed.
Do you think?
I take it all back. He was passed.
Who was passed?
Jordan Taylor was past the Porsche.
Yeah, the Porsche. Yeah, the Porsche.
The Porsche turned to the side of him. He didn't. Jordan Taylor didn't do much wrong there. He did nothing wrong. I suspect that the Porsche wasn't expecting the gravel that David Hannemeyer-Hansen had left lying all over the circuit as he'd had his off, and that was as much to blame as anything else. So is that the 62 coming in? I think it is.
No, that's the other Porsche. That is the 91 I saw coming in. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Pilet carried that car. Yeah.
So,
and that car must respect track limits.
Pilet was giving it the message on the way in. Team radio with Porsche 92.
Can you continue? I think it's pretty bad. Still not great.
And we can see he's heading into the pits now. So
he has got a flat spot.
Yeah. That's he hadn't been out long. He hadn't been out long, had he? So that's a bit frustrating for them. But anyway, he's in the pits with a fresh set of tyres on there, just looking at what is going on around. Out the front, we haven't seen him for a little while, but it is still the 7 Toyota Kobayashi leading from Nick Tandy. 38.1 seconds is the gap. We've just run under 20 hours to go. Davison in 3rd place with Lopez in 4th. Leading P2 is the 13 Rebellion. His team car is in 2nd as well. So 1-2 for Rebellion there, going over to the Pro category. It's a 66 Ford that's out from the 92 Porsche, having had a spin, just changing and going back out. And then in GTE AM, it's the 84 Ferrari that is out front, followed by the 98 Aston Martin. It's all very close in most of the categories, probably bar the leading category. That lead now out to 38.7 seconds. But this is our leader in GTE Pro. It's the Ford GT, Billy Johnson on board. 26th overall, but more importantly for them, first in their category.
So as we see the 92 Porsche come up away from the pits, Alan's rejoined us. I'm intrigued to know what that's going to do to their tyre strategy, because that was very early on into a stint.
Well, the thing is, if he's flat-spotted the tyre, as it sounds like, with the high-speed vibrations, then it takes another set of tyres out of their allocation that allowed 16 sets for the whole complete race. And it means that you've got to be very careful the next driver going in. has also got to be very careful as well, because he doesn't want to sort of risk a second set to go down. You do get a joker set, but you don't need to be using your joker too early. We're only, 5 hours in.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've got Rubens Barrichello. We've also got something going on the screen, but I think Duncan has Rubens to talk to. Duncan, is that correct?
I've come all the way down the far end of the pit lane here. Garage 59, famous garage, racing team Netherlands. Rubens Barrichello, how was that stint? A lot of guys telling me there's a big kind of issue with the heat in the car.
It was okay, actually. I mean, I've been racing the stock cars in Brazil, and the stock cars are actually hotter. The car has been okay. We are a little bit on the edge with the heat of the track and the tires that we're running. The car seems to be a little bit on the nose, but that's not a problem when we're running by ourselves. It's only when you pick up a little bit of dirty, when you have to overtake the back markers, and that's when you have to be careful. But I had 3 stints done, and times were competitive, so I'm happy.
Rubens, go and get some fluid on, definitely.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, Duncan. So that's Rubens. So 2 things while that was going on. One, what did you make of what Rubens said? But more importantly, there was a lot of work going on in that Porsche, which was on the screen. Now, I don't know whether you've been down there, Alan, but you've got some information anyway from somewhere or somebody.
Shall we leave it as somewhere and somebody?
Yeah, I think we do as well.
Yeah, basically, as Billy Johnson comes into the bits, just looking at this car, it's the Ford that was leading, and Billy Johnson's brought it back into a stop. Remember, that car had a slow puncture very early on in the race, so it's out of pit stop sequence, and so that leaves Johnny Adam in the lead Aston Martin. On his tail is Derani in the sister Ford, and so that battle will, I think, continue for quite a long time. Regarding the Porsche, number 2 that had the problem, it looks like it's a bit of a hybrid issue, and if you've got the motor, the electric motor actually sits in front of the driver's feet, in front of the pedals, and it's a very inaccessible area, because then the drive shafts come out of the side of that to the front wheels, and so ultimately it's an extremely difficult area to get into for the mechanics if they have to change anything. If they have to change the whole motor itself, it's up to 2 hours, and so that really takes them out, so they'll do whatever they can to ensure they maybe don't have to do it. It's one of those things, when you lose the hybrid, you're losing 500 horsepower coming out of corners, so you're totally uncompetitive. But also, the other thing is that all of your brake cooling systems and engine cooling systems are all tuned to the hybrid being active, so the actual brake balance, everything is tuned to the hybrid being active, and when you switch it off, then there's a lot of knock-on effects as well as just purely the horsepower performance.
So problems there and dramas there. So let's just have a look. This is the GTE cars going. We were following the 3rd place car, which is the 51 Ferrari, and he was being chased by Marcel Fassler. It's this Corvette, and 6.7 seconds between the 2 of them out on the Mulsanne straight. There's a couple of cars in between them as well, which aren't on that little tracker map, because they're not in the battle, they're in the AM battle.
Yeah, Marcel Fassler, a 3-time winner for Audi in the LMP1 overall category. Now with that change of situation, then he's also been racing for Corvette in America in the Daytona 24 hours and Sebring 12 hours and Petit Le Mans. And he's done that a few years, and so therefore it's quite logical that he sort of slid his other set of overalls on and jumped into the Corvette muscle car.
Well, that's something that does kind of seem to be quite freely accepted in the world sports car racing in general, that teams will allow their drivers to go and do other forms, like Lotterer goes and races in Japan, Buemi races in Formula E, Dumas, they all seem to be, Sarrazan's out racing in Formula E, but they all seem to be allowed to do that. In Formula 1, they can't do anything, can they? They're just stuck to doing Formula 1.
Oh, I don't know. Fernando Alonso did the Indy 500. Nico Hülkenberg came and did Le Mans.
Okay, that's 2 examples, but these boys are doing
examples, though, aren't they, really?
Fernando Alonso had to go because they were frightened.
Yeah, it's true. I think the thing is that, there's 20 and soon to be 21 races in a Formula 1 calendar, and where there's 9 races in the World Endurance Championship calendar, and there's, 10 in the American Sports Car Championship in IMSA. So, in reality, there's a little bit more time availability to be able to do these things, and they complement each other as well. It's not as if they're in a completely different category as such. They do complement each other. The one that obviously people think about is, the the similarity in coming from Formula One. As Brendan Hartley, who tested in Formula One, was a Red Bull Junior driver. It sort of didn't quite happen for him. Jumped across a couple of years ago to LMP2, picked up by Porsche, and definitely someone that has got that adaptability. And he's a driver that is already a world champion, but does deserve to have a little bit better fortune than what's obviously happened today.
There was a mechanic just getting into that number 2 Porsche in the background, and I was talking to Giles about this situation as the battle goes on and on and on out on track. This is the AM category. So the Aston Martin 98 car out front, but this is the 50 Corvette.
Yeah, but it's the Aston Martin, I think. Is that the leading car
I'm
in the
sure.
category in the 84? Because they're only 1.3 seconds. So Matthias Lauda is leading that in the Aston. So it's Aston that are leading both the GT categories at the moment. As you can see, the overall leader there being Toyota number 7. 40 seconds ahead of Porsche number 1.
That's it. 5th place overall is the first LMP2 car. News from Duncan in the pits is that there could be some movement in the number 2 Porsche, which would be good news for them. A 97 car reporting track limits. That's Johnny Adam, who is our leader in the Pro category. And then Matthias Lauda leading the AM category there. So as Alan just saying, Aston Martin leading both of those GT categories at the minute. 8.3 seconds splits the 2 Rebellions at the front of P2. So Ferrari number 60 just coming in, but a little bit further down the order is the 60 car that comes into the pits as we just roll through. 3 cars out of the event at the minute. That's the number 4 car, the 26 car, and the 88 car. So you see those at the bottom, the 3 cars there are out of the race, all in after about the first hour and a half of the event. The number 7. This is the leader, first overall. Kobayashi on board at the moment. And we're actually going to hear from Kobayashi now.
Can we have an option to reduce the fuel cut in turn 23? Let me know if you want it.
Yeah, a little bit of a information option to reduce the temperatures in turn 23, and going to tell him what to do if necessary. In that respect, though, his last lap, though, was 2.5 seconds quicker than Nick Tandy, and he's into the 18s. Okay, very admittedly, it's high 18s, but he's the 18s. And that's the impressive thing for me, is the older the tyre has got, the more they've been able to stretch their advantage. They seem to be in a much, much better state to keep the overall control of the tyre through the second, but especially in the third stint. And that tells me they're pretty efficient. They're in pretty good shape because it's hot at the moment. And the track temperature is still very hot. It'll be probably 45 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, because people were saying that maybe the Porsche was going to be better the hotter the track temperature.
And the hotter, generally more competitive. We'll see in the middle of the night when it gets cooler. That's the thing. You don't know at the moment because if
it's
suddenly...
hot.
Yeah, because it is hot in that respect. So we'll see in the middle of the night when, or midnight onwards, when the track temperature should be down. Saying that, Nick Tandy, just on the fastest first sector of anybody.
Maybe he's listening to you.
Well, yeah, he might be, but it's the overall lap time. This is the middle sector where it's very important, because this is where Toyota's been blinding, middle sector. Porsche number 1 radio.
I've got a big vibration. I feel like I've played the front grip the last half lap. Copy, done 5 laps, ideally 8 more.
Yeah, he's done 5 laps of his stint. He needs 8 more, and the vibration's coming. If he's got a vibration at this stage and it's not been a lock-up, then invariably it's pick-up on the tyre where he's had to overtake someone. That happens a lot when you go down through the S's on their long right-hander. Just before you get to Tetra Rouge, you can pick it up, and then at speed, it doesn't clean off on the straight, or you can run curbs and actually get it pick up there, and you need to scrub that off. But the problem is that here you've got 5 straights where you're over 200 miles an hour, over 320 kilometers per hour, and a small vibration does amplify itself at high speed, and vibrations can create problems with hybrid systems as well. So he's, you know, if it is a tyre, they've got to clean it.
They'll be hoping there isn't any hybrid problems. Obviously, the number 2 car, their sister car, has got that, and there's front end gone back together. It's still not together, but it is going back together as the 37 and the 35 cars, third and fourth as they went in. The 37 car, which is the Jackie Chan Racing, and the 35 car, which was the Signatech Alpine. They're both just into the pits and just dropping down the order in P2 a little bit as we speak through that. The 63 Corvette with Taylor on board, that's just gone into the pits as well. And the number 8 car, third overall, scything through the traffic. Anthony Davison out on a bit of a mission. He's 23 seconds away from second place. He was right up there at one point with that car pushing, but he was just he was kind of told to get on with it a little bit. And
yeah, but look at the times Lopez has just done. Lopez just doing a personal best for that car, 3:19.9, pushing on the quickest of the LMP1 cars out on circuit so far. But Tandy setting that fastest of all sector after he was complaining about the vibration.
Yeah, but the vibration ultimately happens more on the straight than it does in that section where the car's loaded up and you're turning. If you've got a loaded up and turning sort of vibration, then it's usually
a flat spot. Or
you tend to feel it and sense it more on the straight. And the first one after the start and finish is when you go through Tetra Rouge down towards the first chicane at Mulsanne, and then you've got the next one to the second chicane, and then the next one after that to Mulsanne and down to Arnage and then back to Porsche. So you've got a lot of vibrations on the first 2/3 of the circuit.
Toyota going through the traffic there, trying to make it as best as possible. Traffic is a big, it's not an issue, don't get me wrong, but it's a big thing. It's a massive thing.
It is an issue, and it's a factor. And the car has got to be drivable through the traffic. The car has got to be able to go offline. The car can't just be on the driving line and the ideal racing line, because this is Le Mans. You've got too many cars on track just to have an easy way of it. You've got to be able to go offline. You've got to be able to then clean the tyre up after it. It's got to be stable and consistent and understandable. Right now it's one thing. Middle of the night when you're trying to overtake somebody around the outside in the Porsche cars, entry to the Porsche cars, you've got to have total confidence and knowledge what the car is going to give you.
That was the leader of P2 just in the pits there, the 13 Rebellion. So Rebellion don't lose the lead because their sister car takes over the lead. We've been joined in the commentary box as well as one Audi ex-person driver. We've now got an Audi ex-engineer, and Lena Gade has joined us. Lena, you've been out and about. What have you made of it so far?
Hello. Well, it's incredibly hot out there. Incredibly hot, so I can imagine that quite a few of the comments going back to the engineers are about cars understeering, tyres not really working. Quite interesting to see what's happening between the 7 and the number 1 cars. That gap I thought could have been a bit bigger, but yeah, I've been looking at some averages and they're relatively close, those 2 cars, but the 7 seems to have the edge at the minute.
Interesting one was with the 7. I think they gained a lot of time when the the slow zone was in Porsche curves, because that is where the Porsche is quick. But then that was neutralised because they had to go through the 80 kilometres per hour. And ultimately then that meant the rest of the circuit was where the Toyota could take the advantage, because the Porsche didn't have the opportunity through Porsche curves to basically gain it back. And so there was a decent chunk of time that was taken out due to a slow zone happening to be in an area where their car had a benefit over the Toyota.
Well, what we have had, Lena, in the last 20 minutes, half an hour, is Anthony Davison, in theory, getting the hurry up. Now, race drivers kind of push on. In your job, you're sat on the pit wall and you're looking at all the facts and figures, and you make the call. Can you kind of speed up? I mean, how difficult is that call to make? Because you would expect your driver to be going flat out anyway.
I think you look a lot at the gaps, and if you're seeing something that's increasing or a gap that's getting way too big, you do have to give the hurry up, because you need to stay within a certain distance on track to the cars that are in front. Obviously, in Toyota's case, they want to try and make sure that that number 1 car starts to fall back in comparison to them. So that's probably why he got given a little bit of a wake-up call. Come on, you can put some more in.
See, it's a funny thing is, because I've been on the end of that Lena Gate need a hurry up little comment. And the first thing is you want to get back on the radio and say, what do you think I'm doing?
And usually the answer is you're not doing enough.
Yeah, and they usually give me a better setup on the car. That was always a good
It's too late in the middle of the race, isn't it?
This is the difficult thing, is that it's actually at a risk assessment now. When you're in that position, you've got a risk assessment to take, and it's managing the risk through traffic, because ultimately you can take bigger risks, but if you've got to then realise that you're still got 19 hours and 41 minutes to go with those risks to come back and bite you. So you've always got that little bit of a be risk adverse at certain points.
I have an answer for you there. I'm not going to say it, but you're right. You're absolutely right. It is about risk management, and there's a fair number of hours left to go. You don't just gamble it all in the first couple of hours of the race. You've got to play it tactically. You've got to keep the car in one piece and get it going.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the next thing happened, as you'll see now, running last overall, because it's in, last actual, not quite last, but it is the number 2 Porsche, because that's sat in the pit. Nick Tandy came on the radio about something, but was not told at all of the other car having an issue this was when it just happened. You just look at your car. You don't tell them that there's an issue somewhere else within the team.
Depends what it is. If it's something that the team understands could affect more team cars, then you do. If it's a case of just informing your driver of where the position of the other car is, you might tell them, but it just depends whether you need to or not. It's engineer's discretion to some extent.
I thought that was dust, but it was a fancy shot coming through, but it's obviously difficult, and these drivers, I mean, they all get breaks, they all get rest. And Alan, he'll get out the car. Oh, we've got team radio coming with the 36 car.
On match a toujours beaucoup les coupures. C'est à quel rythme par tour? Non, ça dépend des tours. Enfin, des fois, même je fais 36, 36 ou 40, et coupures, trafic. Le dernier coup, c'est le temps où j'ai fait 40. Les 3 derniers tours, j'ai pas eu. TC pour toi, Romain, est-ce que ça te satisfait là ou tu voudrais encore en enlever? Non, mais non, c'est bon. Non, c'est bon.
Go on then, Alan.
There you go.
The other night when they were talking in French, you understood everything.
Yeah, but I don't understand Romain Dumas, to be honest with you.
Okay. Oh, dear me. I thought that's why I was keeping fast. There we go.
I was hoping for you to come up with something there.
Yeah, okay. Well, he's got his orders and his strategy.
It was okay at the end. He said yes, he was happy at the end.
Yeah, okay, well, that's all right. So I've been handed some questions, which I've got to hide, but we'll whiz through. But for Lena, I mean, Alan connected, but I'll tell you what I was going to ask just before that radio message came in is, from an engineering point of view, we see the drivers, black and white flag for car, 60 constant use of track limit. There's a few of them being given out. We've got a chart as well.
What said abuse of track limits, not use, it was abusing them. And that's the thing, it'll be at 2 points in the circuit. Tetra Rouge in the exit of Karting corner. It's the points where you can gain a lot of lap time if you actually just run all 4 wheels off. And he doesn't get that for just doing it once, he gets that for repeated offence. You know, that's certainly something that they are very hard on, and they've been talking about it and doing it all through the qualifying as well.
That's it, they have been going on about it, but what I was just going to pick up on is we see drivers coming in, changing and everything, but we're going to get some news from Porsche with Duncan. Let's just cross over to Duncan.
Okay, guys, we're in the pit lane. We've got Andreas, team principal of Porsche here. Andreas, what is the status of the car that's getting the work done just now?
Well, Kato, unfortunately we got an alarm out there on track and lost the drive on the front axle. We saw in the data now that the front axle motor had to be changed. This is what's going on right now. We need another 15 minutes and then we will go out again.
Any concerns for the other car, the number 1 car?
Well, there's always a concern if you see a failure first time that you have never seen before. But we keep fighting with both cars and then we see where we end up.
Do you know why?
No, honestly, not yet. We have to wait for the analysis in detail. At the moment, we simply put the next e-motor in, and as I said before, we have never seen that before in the 4 endurance tests we did. But this is how Le Mans goes. Sometimes we keep fighting.
The luck of Le Mans. Thank you very much, Andreas. There you go, guys.
Andreas Seidel there from Porsche. Interesting thing is they said they'd never seen it before in the 4 endurance tests However, if you rewind to Spa World Endurance Championship 2016, then they finished second with losing the E-motor on their car. They're able to switch off and run for about 4 hours of the 6-hour WEC race and still finish in second, Lena.
Yeah, that's correct. I remember all that one. And it was quite impressive to see them do that. They just got the car through to the end and nursed it.
Yeah, a big difference though is 19 hours and 36 minutes. Also around here with aerodynamics in terms of the braking, cooling and things like that, then I think it wasn't a possibility. Andre Lotterer sitting there.
That car just coming into the pits was the 24 Hershey car, just third in P2 as he came in. And I might get my question out now, but it's basically a driver-engineer thing of the drivers come in, they change, they get out, they get a rest. The engineers, you're in it for the whole 24 hours, plus the bit before and after, aren't you? You don't go to bed like they do.
No, we don't.
Yeah, but they don't do very much. They just sit in the backsides and playing with a computer game, don't they, really?
Yeah, we've got all these lines that are on the screen. Apparently a child has done them, and they just go through like a loop. And then every so often you hear something from the driver, you acknowledge it, and then tell them to drive faster because their averages are low.
Okay, yeah. I tell you what, I mean, I do remember one call that you did make. Well, I think it was 14 when I was here, and you were kind of, I know you're really busy right now. I can't remember which driver it was, but I just need to know how the car's handling. I mean, do you have to pick your moment?
Yes, 100%. You know, talking to them in Porsche curves usually doesn't go down very well. I remember hearing Alan shouting once. And you kind of want to do it on the straights. And thinking back to 14, I do know how much we were asking the drivers to change every lap. So that was probably the reason why that comment came out.
It's a funny thing, though. It's worse here for the actual race as well, you say, about talking on the straights, because from the second chicane all the way to Mulsanne, from Mulsanne Corner all the way to Indianapolis, which are this big hunk of the circuit, once everybody is alive in terms of television broadcasts, all the radios, all the fans with whatever it is, then that section of circuit is suddenly a black spot and you can't actually use the radio. And so therefore it restricts on the spaces where there can be clear communication with the car in the pit.
That's it. So obviously you left Audi, Lena, to pursue other things before that they stopped their World Sports Car program. But what are you up to now? What exactly are you involved with now?
So I moved across to Bentley, so I stayed within the VW group, and I look after the GT3 side of things. My big project recently has been the Nürburgring 24-hour race. That was a completely different kettle of fish. And do a little bit in the Blancpain series as well. I'll be at Spa, the 24-hour race.
Okay, so keeping busy, which is the most important thing. Another question from Mr. Moody. Best memory of the 24 Hours of Le Mans or WEC, or both, if you've got different standout ones?
So I thought about this question because someone else asked it. It would have been last year, standing on the pit wall, Brad Pitt coming to my pit stand, kissing my hand, asking if he'd come into the pit stand, and I said no, because apparently there was no space. Really messed that up.
Ah, you told him there was no space?
Yeah, well, there wasn't. There was 3 of us in there.
But couldn't you kick one out?
I didn't think about that at the time.
Oh,
I should have done.
Okay.
He has amazing skin.
Okay, fair enough. Oh, well. You see, girls look at that type of thing.
Well, I was going to stroke his face, but I thought that was a bit weird, so I didn't.
Okay, so her best memory of Le Mans 24 Hours had nothing to do with a car.
Okay, being serious then, 2011.
I thought that was serious. You spoke quite seriously there. I thought that was...
Well, it's a good memory to have. I don't think Brad Pitt would have gone to see any of the other male engineers on track. Well, maybe he
You
would
didn't
have,
get his number then, no?
No, I also forgot to ask for that.
You know he's single.
I do now, yes.
Oh, dear me. Right, car sections of favourite memories.
I think it's got to be 2011. That was a phenomenal year for me, not so much for Alan, sat here. But it was my first Le Mans. It was quite pressurised, which I didn't really realise at the time. When all of the responsibility falls on the shoulders of probably the most inexperienced car we had, getting it across the line with that 13.8 seconds was quite something. So it's there at the top.
That's it.
Everything.
That's great. So Brendan Hartley, the number 2 car, has now got a front end on it, and he'll be getting ready to get into that car. So that's good news. They did say Alan's got something to say. I think I don't know what he's noticed.
No, it's just the fact that he's now, however many laps behind. From that point of view, that team of crew are now driving for 19.5 hours, basically in the hope of what? I can tell you it's difficult position because you've got to just keep pushing all the way through the night, and you're just driving in the hope of something, but you don't know what it could be. But you can never give up, because that's the one thing about here. We had a similar, not technical issue, but in 2010 we had an issue, and we were so many laps behind at the end, but then came back, and ultimately we finished on the podium just by sheer, I would say, grit and determination. And so even though they are out of the picture right now and you dismiss them and they're right at the bottom of the time charts, you've got to keep on going.
We're going to hear from the 8 Toyota. This is third place, Davison.
With your Marshall 17.9, 17.9.
See, it's bringing the gap down, but Alan, we're just looking there. 54th is that car out of 57, in the hope of something. What? Realistic.
Points for the World Championship. That's it. Points for the World Championship. Yeah. You don't know. It's
You've got to remember who's paying your wages at this point, don't you? But as you say, going around for 19.5 hours.
No, you don't. You think at the end of the year. These drivers aren't doing it for money. They're doing it to win. And that's simply the factory drivers that are doing it to win. And you have to dig deep in these occasions. You have to dig deep for the mechanics that have just, sweated like mad to put that back together in something that would normally take a day, and you've just got to deliver, and that's it. You've got to push through the mental side of it, which is sometimes very, very tough, but that's what you've got to do, and that team ethos, and that is what is going to take you to ultimately a World Championship, if the chance of it's there. You don't know if it is, but you've got to be in it if it is.
Okay, the number 9 car is probably due into the pit soon and drive a change. Lena, obviously you've not been on the pit wall and stroking Brad Pitt. It means you've got time to come into here. But are you enjoying it as a fan, or are you a frustrated engineer when you're back at a racetrack that you've had so much success at?
I've enjoyed all the things that I couldn't do as a race engineer, because I had to make sure the car was in a certain place, the drivers were in a certain place, we were ready with X, Y, and Z. So I went to the drivers' parade for the first time in 10 years, never done that before. Went onto the grid, first time ever on the grid at Le Mans. That was interesting. So that side of things has been quite nice to experience. There's a totally different side of Le Mans. Coming into the TV compound, never been in here before. And then there's some unbelievable technology in this place. But this is what Le Mans is about. It's, everything that's going on in the background. What am I missing? I have to say, when I was stood in the pit lane listening to the Marseillaise, I was thinking, oh, I wish I was still running a car, that I could be out there and trying again. And I have to say, almost immediately I wanted to go and find someone who could tell me what all the average lap times were, to see where the Porsche number 1 was versus a 7, what's going on with the LMP2 cars, because it's actually quite difficult just trying to follow the timing screens and not have all that background information that tells you what's going on sort of pace-wise.
So the Dumas car being pushed back into the garage there. Davison on a personal best in Sector 1. He is starting to try and bring that gap down to 14.9 seconds. Front end off that there as well, Alan.
Yeah, it's they're in at the back, the front, the sides. There seem to be everywhere. That was Romain Dumas. You remember the conversation a little bit earlier on regarding, well, whatever it was regarding, to be honest with you.
Just going back to that answer you just gave there, Lena, a question that I would have as a fan is, you said you've never been on the grid. Your car's on the grid, sat there waiting to go. So what are you busy doing then while that's on the grid? If you're not on the grid with it, why?
What I would have been doing at the start, once the cars are pushed out there and getting ready for that grid lap, is I'd normally be kind of sat in the back, and I would be in a dark room with my eyes closed, probably having a panic attack. That's what I used to do.
Okay, we saw Brendan.
I'm trying to get hold of my mum.
Trying to get hold of your mum?
I always needed to talk to her before the race and never managed it.
Oh, dear me. The Brendan Hartley about to get into the what? He's getting in to the, the 2 car, not the 1 car, the 2 car. So that has been quite a long time that they have been in there. No changes in any of our league categories at the moment. It's still Kobayashi. We do believe there's going to be a pit stop for the 9 car. Here it comes. It's just coming past our commentary box now and on its way in. Currently sat in 4th place. Lopez in the car at the moment. And Hartley getting in to the Porsche. And they'll hope that that's right. It is a driver change. looks like Kunimoto getting in there.
Yeah, this will be a very interesting one because Kunimoto is the third driver, and he struggled a little bit, if I'm being frank, in Spa, which is the warm-up race for this 24 Hours of Le Mans. So now it's his first run in the car, in the race, and so to see his performance and average lap times, because that's going to be quite critical if that car is going to stay in the mix.
Okay, news from Duncan in the pits says the 2 car is on the floor and running. This is a full service for the 9 car. The fuel's gone in, the driver's gone in, now the tyre change. Checking that the door shut. We've had that quite a bit this season, of doors popping open on cars in all categories. Porsche coming out of the garage. Also on the road now again is the 9 Toyota. So are you at Porsche there, Duncan? He's disappeared. Okay, we're going to get a bit of a running commentary, but he's just disappeared now. There's your favourite. Is that you've got a bit of a problem here, haven't you, Lena, this weekend, of who you support?
Well, there's a lot of ex-Audi drivers out there. I've got to support them all. I can't be biased. But I am looking out for certain cars, yes, correct.
Certain cars, yes.
Yeah.
Seeing how they're doing.
I'm looking at the GTs at the minute, and there's a couple in there that need to look after, and then there's P2s, there's a few, and then there's more than one with the P1s.
Okay, we're going to go to Duncan.
Yeah, there we go, the Porsche back out of the pit garage. Everybody's been moved aside, they're refueling the car now, it's back on the ground. Great work by the team inside the garage there to get this done. The whole front end, Alan, you'll understand, was off the car. There was 2 bodies in the actual footwell of the car, one either side. It doesn't look like a nice job to try and get done. It looked hot and sweaty. But look at that, the Porsche rejoins the race. Oh, he stalled it. There we go, cracks into life, that V4 motor. And very slow to get away. But the Porsche is away.
Duncan, the reason it's slow to get away is normally it pulls away on electric power, but they've changed the E-motor of that, so therefore it won't have that electric boost to pull it away, so it's having to start on the naturally aspirated engine there. Sorry, the turbocharged engine, but it's starting on that. But the thing is that, as you know, Lena, for them to change that, it's basically a wee bit of an operation.
Yeah, it's quite complicated. These cars are designed as aero machines, and they have obviously the most optimized systems in the cars. It's not going to be an easy one to have fixed.
No,
just while we're watching that Porsche go out, both the 7 and 8 Toyotas have come in, Kobayashi and Davison, and this is the Davison car, and Nakajima getting in that car, Anthony getting out, and Sarazan now aboard the 7 car. So Nick Tandy actually leads at the minute, courtesy of not coming into the pits at the moment. So you still look after your drivers? You still send them texts to make sure they're all right, even though you're not working with them?
Yeah, always. Always. Well, you keep in contact with them. I had a long stint at Audi, 9 years. I had the pleasure of working with some of the best drivers in the sports car field, Alan included. And you don't just lose touch with those people, because they are like family.
I don't think he heard that. No. Or he was just not reacting.
I paid him a compliment. He didn't hear, did he?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
She actually said something nice about you. It's the first time anyone said anything nice about you in this commentary box all week.
Yeah, I say the first time I met Lena was at St. Petersburg 2007, as she walked across the pit lane to come to the pit box with a backpack that was actually bigger than her. And yeah, we won a few races together.
1 or 2.
Including Le Mans 24 Hours.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The pro category, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th cars all in the pit lane. Johnny Adams still out and cruising along. Matthias Lauda still out in a 98. Aston Martin, he's still on the road. He's leading. And it is still a Rebellion 1-2 in the P2 category. Tyre information.
Yeah, tyre information, 36 laps. That's into the 3rd stint for car number 1, doing 14 laps per stint. And so, it's got to go to 42 laps on those set of tyres. It's quite a long time. It's not the longest that we've ever seen here at Le Mans. However, track temperatures are very, very high. And also, just generally, the speeds are very high as well. Not necessarily straight line speeds. The acceleration speeds are quick. But the corner speeds through Porsche, where we're standing out, Louise and I were standing out there on Thursday evening. And I tell you, I took a step back when they first came through.
Yeah, I was a little bit further down the wall because I wasn't doing much work. I was being a spectator at that point, and yeah, it was pretty impressive. It's
just at this point here.
Yeah, that's where we were, yeah. It was pretty special. So this is the leading car at the minute, but it is due a pit stop at some point. Let's see if it dives in at this lap. 77 laps. Here it comes. Here we are. Not sure if Duncan's still down at Porsche. He might have moved on, but he might still be down there. He's down at Toyota waiting to speak to a driver, which is pretty handy. But Nick Tandy in the pits. We've heard before engineers, as they're on their last lap, Lena, they're talking to the driver. They're getting some final information to pass on to the driver who's going to get into the car, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you do a couple of things. You get the car ready for the pit stop, you get the car ready for the next driver, and you get some comments that you can basically give to the next driver when they go out, so they've got all the tools in hand to do the job.
The 7 car, Sarrazan's about to take the lead again. Goes past the number 1 car. Now, there it is. That's parked on the apron, getting changed. The driver changing. Yellow at zone 3. Oh, 47 car in the gravel. That's going to need pushing or picking out of there. 47. Who is aboard that? Lacourt. Currently 15th overall.
Yeah, he's going to have a bit of push out there.
Here we go.
Dunlop, and did he get hit there? No, I don't think he did. I think he just spun around, got on the throttle when he was a little bit loose, and then just looked it around.
And just dropped into the gravel. I mean, he kind of got it under control. If he maybe just got on the brakes a little sooner, it would have just stayed out the gravel and he wouldn't have been sat there. But Lacourt sat in the gravel, just the rear wheels in the gravel. I don't think there's any damage. There's going to be a slow zone in that sector as they remove that car somehow. Now I'm just looking down, 71 now out front in the pro category because the 95 car, I'm just trying to see, where did, anyway, the 71 Ferrari's out front. Durrani on an outlap in second. Billy Johnson's in a run, he's third. Fassler up to 5th. I was just checking whereabouts. We've had a driver change. Am I right there? Johnny Adam was in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, he's came into the pits.
97. But I can't. I'm being stupid. I can't even see his number on there.
Yeah, but the thing is that they've come into the pits. Both Durrani and Adam are on the same pit strategy, and they're both in the pits for their stop. And
he's moved up a page because of that other guy. I'm looking. He was there before, but because of Dumas being in the pits, he's got past, so he's still out front. So
we've got 2 timing monitors here, and you drop off one and pick up onto the other one there. So
that's exactly. Oh, we've got Alex Wirtz in the pit lane. I think that's what Duncan said. Let's just get a quick word with him.
Alex, thank you very much for having a quick word for us here. Basking in sunshine in the Toyota garage. What's your take on how the guys are getting on so far?
So far, so good. We are executing as we prepared since 364 days, but as we all know, we did very well last year for 23 hours and 56 minutes, and then in our own pear-shaped. So let's just wait until Sunday 3 o'clock. But at the moment, I have to say we can be proud of winning the first 2 races and now having 3 cars in the race. Anyway, as you know, it's a long race, so let's wait and see.
Where do you think you have the speed advantage?
I think everywhere a little bit. You know, cars are very good in the high-speed corner. We have chosen wisely our tire so the guys can push. And it's not too much time difference with Porsche, but it seems that in the third stint they are losing a little bit more traction, more rear and stability, and this is when we are just opening the gap.
Are you staying on board in the pit garage for the full 24 hours?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to. In my age, as Alan might tell you, is a bit difficult. But anyway, I'm pushing. I'm always in contact with the race engineers and drivers, helping to make some decisions. So I'm quite involved. I like it, and obviously I'm a petrol head, so I love to see the whole 24 hours.
Great to see you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Duncan. And yeah, it's difficult. The drivers do get to have a bit of a rest, but the management and engineers don't. The 47 car now moving again.
Oh, Hitted is coming into the pit lane. Sorry, I'm just looking outside of our pit box window here. The 37 and the 35, 2 LMP2 cars, just bashed each other coming into the pit lane there. These 2 cars maybe get a view of it again, but the Signatech Alpine hit the DC Chan car up the back literally as the Chan car braked for the 60-kilometre line. So if we get a little shot, hopefully, of the back end of that DC Chan car, you might see some blue Signatech writing on it. Here you go, seeing into it. That's where it goes to 60 right now. There. Little bit of a bash. 35.
It has
pushing.
done something on the front of the Signatech car, which it was the 35, wasn't it? It has done some damage. I think it's just done, yeah, like a dive plane. So I'm not sure whether Duncan's at that team, but you can see apparently there's a nose change, we think, going on that car now. So for gaining 0.5 of a second by braking later, you've now had to change a nose.
Yeah, I do have to be, yes. Unfortunately, you've got to push coming into the pit lane. You have to push. That's part of the racing circuit. It's only when it goes to the 60 that it's part of the pit lane, and that's part of the race. However, clearly, you're not meant to hit the guy ahead of you. It's a little bit like on the road. If you smack into the guy ahead of you, it's kind of your fault. It's difficult to blame him.
Well, it is difficult. I know he had a...
I'm sure. I'm very, very sure if we put them in the room, they'll blame each other, but...
Yeah. Well, because apparently racing drivers don't make mistakes, he was saying.
Well, we
don't.
No, they never.
Yeah, he said that the other day, yeah.
That's true.
Perfect human beings.
You can ask my wife.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I prefer if Lena wouldn't actually follow through with that one.
Yeah, so she's very, very quiet there at the minute about things, about driver making mistakes. So this is the 5th and 6th battle in the GTE Pro category.
Yeah, Marcel Fassler in the Corvette, the second car there behind Pierre Guidi. And looks like Marcel's going to the outside into Porsche. He's going to try and force Guidi into the inside, so he's compromised in the braking. That'll be a brave move if he gets it off. He's close, but I think he's going to have to back out of that one, and Guidi's still held the position. Guidi's the guy that jumped into the lead at the start of this race. He wasn't in pole position. That was Darren Turner in the Aston Martin, but he muscled his way through pretty quickly and led at the beginning.
Okay, we can get an update on the 36 car, which was the car we saw Dumas in the pit lanes with Duncan.
Oh, okay, so we're in the pit lane garage here. Philippe from the Signatech Alpine car. Can you give us an update on what's going on with the 36? Because there's a bit of a big smell of gear oil right now.
Yeah, we have a trouble with the pump, oil pump of the gearbox, and the pump failed, and we have to change it.
How long is that going to take you guys in the garage?
I don't know, to be honest, but too long.
Okay, all the best.
Thank you.
There you go, guys.
I like it. How long is that going to take? Too long. Anything is more than too long. So the 71 car in the pits. Also, Johnny Adams been in for fuel and back on an out lap, still retaining the lead there.
In correction, car 9, which is Kunimoto in the Toyota, the 4th place car, reported to have the door open. You said at the pit stop that it didn't shut very well.
And the mechanic leant over and banged it down again, but it depends which door it was. He was banging the door down that the driver got into, but which door it is, we don't know that's open, but... So, it is something we've seen, but you came up with some real kind of great explanation about it, Alan, about pressure and all that kind of stuff of why it...
It can be. It can be the air coming into the cockpit, and then if there's not the release of that air, then it sort of pops the door open because it's the weakest part. A door is much weaker than a carbon structure of the monocoque. Or it can, the other thing is it can be, we've seen it in the past where it's a sort of torsional twist, and if the latch isn't strong enough, or alternatively it's just a badly designed latch.
Is that what you're going with?
I don't know on this occasion.
Okay.
we haven't seen it yet, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. There's, I thought you were pointing at something. There's an Aston Martin just coming in the pits, but I can't see. The 95 car, yeah, the Stanaway car. That's the one that had a puncture and had to go back in. Right, so which door is it? That's the, it's the other door, though.
It's the right-hand side door. You can see it there. If you look to the left and then the right, you can see that dark shadow. And now you can see it in that frontal. It's that's a pit stop, sorry. But that's got to be a pit stop to close it. First of all, aerodynamic drag will be immense. Second thing is the amount of dirty swirl of air that will be coming into the cockpit. And then the third point is that it's illegal. Here's the team radio for that car coming through to Kunimoto.
Close the door, close the door. If the door is still open, close it yourself, close it yourself.
Yeah.
Right door still open. Copy. I can drive for.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult. It's quite easy for the engineer to say it, but the driver can't necessarily reach over it. He's got to undo his seatbelts, which is kind of illegal and also not exactly that safe, and to shut it. So therefore, he'd have to come to a stop, release the belts, lean over, if he can even reach it then, and close it. The least negative, I would assume, is going to be coming into the pits and have it shut correctly. So I think the other point is, why is it open?
I mean, because we did see on that onboard, he did try and kind of put his arm underneath the bar to get it, but they're pretty enclosed in there. There's not a lot of movement, is there?
No, he's going through here. He's in front of us, Lena, coming through the actual Ford chicane now. It's quite stable in its position, though. It's not as if it's flapping around.
Yeah.
But then again, it's got quite a lot of air pressure against it.
I mean, that's the thing. The best time for him to have a go is on the straight, because he's got to go straight. But then the speed is harder to kind of like pull it towards you or something because of the air going between the gap.
I don't know. I just think that the position of that big beam section, and then to be able to lean across, because it's not exactly that convenient for the driver to be able to lean across and touch the other door when it's closed, never mind when it's half open.
It's very unlikely to have an ergonomically designed door handle like you have in a car, to be honest. So to try and reach it and pull it underneath that bar, it's going to be quite difficult for them to do.
Oh, Corvette and LMP2 there, they're getting very, very close.
And that's those two are battling in pro, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the Fassler car, and Fassler. And then the LMP2 diving round the outside and squeezing in it. Oh, dearie me, that's not neat. In terms of the LMP2, squeezed around the outside of the Corvette, round Porsche, and is now sort of half trying to overtake the other GTE car, Pierre Guidi, into the Ford chicane. If he's going to do it, he's got to do it. You can't make half manoeuvres on these type of things. It was quite close for Marcel Fassler, managed to get out of it without any scathing.
Matt McMurray aboard the 45 Algarve Pro Racing car there. And now the Toyota kind of mixed up in amongst all of this as well. Car 51 reporting to be losing fluid. Car 51. Okay, we're hearing from our pit lane reporter that Toyota are getting ready for the 9 car. To slam it shut, put a bit of tape on it if that's not going to do it. So, 51 car. That is the 4th place. 51 Ferrari. 4th place at the minute. Pierre Guidi on board that Ferrari. Tell you what I noticed on one of the shots when we were coming down the Mulsanne straight, I think it was with the Toyota, there's a lot of gravel on what would be the overtaking place, which is going to make it a bit interesting when someone wants to overtake. And Tony Kanaan versus Jordan Taylor here. Ford versus Corvette. Okay. So we're waiting for him to come in. There's a new door ready for the 9 car. Suppose they are sat in 4th place. They're slightly out of it as in terms of battling at the front. So they may as well fix it properly and put a door on it. You fuel the car as well?
Yeah, always.
So get it, it's going to be out of sync, so to speak, with strategy, but you never know what might happen. You might get a full course yellow or something, or slow zones and things like that, so it might come back into the hands. So the battle going on here between these two. Tony Kanaan, his first Le Mans, replacing Sébastien Bourdais, who won the category last year, but having had that big shunt in qualifying for the Indy 500. The 9 car is on pit road, Duncan. So our pit crew, look at this, look at this. We're going to hear from the 68 car first.
So get him back here, take care of the tires. About 10 more laps here, 10 more laps.
Okay, so that's Tony Khan getting the message. Here's the door getting ready. Are you in there, Duncan? He seems to have just disappeared. Okay.
Hello guys, yeah, I'm here, sorry. Microphone in hand, looking at the car right in front of me. I'm looking right into the eyes of the driver, and they're changing the door. The door's going to have to come off, and it's a fiddly little job. In fact, no, they've not a door change. That wasn't a door change. They were fixing the problem internally. Car goes past me, silent for the first 50 yards, then roars into life.
Okay, so, yeah, we saw it in Silverstone. Some of the teams just put tape over it, but they got told off, didn't they, as well, so...
Yeah, you've got to have a correctly fastened door. And also the other thing, a safety item, the driver's got to be able to get out. So if you tape that door up so that it's closed, and permanently closed, then he hasn't got access to get out of the cockpit through that side. So it's quite a strict regulation, and understandably so. A door is there as part of the protection of the driver.
So that's the 13 Rebellion in and out of the pits. Currently now in second place, 56 seconds away from his teammates. The number 1 Porsche scything through, that's Andre Lotterer in the car. 34.9 seconds away from the leader, and he's got 19 seconds over Nakajima behind. So that gap's kind of remained quite stable there between those two. So we'll see what happens. Kunimoto now a little bit further away on an outlap because he went into the pits. Johnny Adams still leads GTE Pro. Julian Canal leads LMP2 in the 31 Rebellion.
It's saying about Johnny Adam there. He's taken it looks like he's taken advantage of the slow zone to pit, and that's allowed him to stretch his gap out towards Pipo Derani in the 67 Ford and Billy Johnson in the 66 Ford.
That's it. So yeah, and then those two aren't so far apart. 7.9 seconds between those two. This is a replay of the door. It's a loose catch. Well, I mean, I can just see something loose in the middle of the frame, but
it's like a little finger catch. That one, it looks like. And it goes down, it's got a wire that goes down into the actual latch itself, which is housed at the bottom of the door onto the monocoque of the chassis.
So as an engineer there, Lena, do you come over and look at it and watch it, or do you just wait for the mechanics to report back to you of what happened or what they have tried to do?
So usually we would have practiced things like a door change, and it's very likely that the mechanics know what could have failed already. That's probably why they had a door ready thing. If it's X, Y, and Z, we go for a door change. And usually it's down to the mechanic to make the judgment call, because they're the ones with the best information of how the car's built up.
It's okay, so they're obviously quite happy with how that has shut. The 36 car, that's been in the garage for quite a long time. Dumas was in there, and it's now dropped way down the order, 51st overall, and dropping. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the car that...
that did look like Roman still in there, didn't it?
Yes, it is. It's Romain Dumas that's still in. I can definitely tell you that's his eyes.
The 31 Rebellion leading P2 is on pit road as well. That's still not right, is it? There's something...
Okay. No, God, that's definitely not right.
So what's that cable they've just pulled down then for people who don't know about racing cars? Is that like powering it up to kind of read something, some data, or?
It's a data download cable. They're likely to be getting the data through immediately to see what's going on with that start.
Rebellion car in the pits as well, 31. It's a car that is leading. Julian Canal at the wheel. It's been a strong weekend for these guys, and it's their 10th anniversary of coming to Le Mans for Rebellion.
It's just a windscreen clean and some fuel. Right, Dumas on his way.
One of the biggest bear hugs I've ever had in my entire life was when they finished on the podium in 2014. And the owner of Rebellion came up and he hugged me without saying anything and just about crushed all of my ribs. He was a happy chappy.
He was a happy chappy. As Dumas pulled out there, I did see a cable just swinging around as he left.
Well, they're doing active auto-download.
I just wonder whether they forgot to disconnect it before because I just saw this cable just swinging in the background. I'm not sure whether it just caught the rear wing or whether it was maybe still connected in there, but that's something for the mechanics and engineers to worry about now. 19 hours still to go. Sam Bird just keeping an eye on what is going on. C71 Ferrari. This car's a little bit down, 7th in the category, and being caught if for some of them. Duncan's got Nelson Piquet Jr. He's been a busy boy as Duncan, but Duncan, we're going to come to you now.
Yeah, we're in the Rebellion garage here just after Alan saying he got a big bear hug. I'm not going to bear hug Nelson Piquet Jr., but so far, how is your day going? It looks like you're actually standing enjoying the sunshine here right now.
Yeah, the morning, well, I mean, sorry, the afternoon has been going okay. I mean, still very early, so we're still in one of those phases where, you know, step by step, let's take everything very cool, very easy. We are leading, so that's obviously a positive, but let's keep calm because there's still a long race ahead of us. It's still a lot of hours, so important is not to keep doing the same job, not doing any mistakes, good pit stops, and let's keep carrying this way.
Are you looking forward to the night stints when the temperature drops inside the car a little bit?
Doesn't matter for me, hot or cold, I like it both.
Thank you very much. Fit as a butcher's dog, as we would say back home, Alan.
Yeah, and remember, oh my goodness, and there's a Ferrari, and that's a heavy hit there. Coming into the first chicane, the LMP2 car moved across, hit Pierre Caffer as he came into the braking area. In my view, 100% the LMP2's fault there as he squeezed across in the braking